Hi, I'm Anne, and this is a writing vlog for my sci-fi romance. Yeah, I don't really have an actual nice thing for it, but it's my sapphic sci-fi romance. So the last time we chatted, I actually made an outline for it, and that's very not like me. I tend not to outline, but if I get confused, I tend to outline. I don't like giving up on things, and sometimes outlining is a really great way for me not to give up on things. So that's what that was. And now we're actually doing the writing and stuff, and I think it's going relatively well. There's always sort of this adjustment when I make an outline or when I have any sort of plan, because it's been a bit I've been struggling a little bit. I say after saying it's going well, but I have been struggling just a little bit. Originally I wasn't, and then I started having a bit of an issue. This is part of why I tend not to outline very often, is because I am unfortunately the type of person where if I make a plan for myself, I want to stick to that exactly and not move and not sway at all, which is why pantsing tends to be a bit easier for me, because that way all my plans are just in my head. There's like a 90% chance I'm gonna forget them anyways. So it doesn't really matter. But when I write it down, it feels like a structure that I have to stick to. And that doesn't necessarily result in good writing or a good story, at least for me. And also one thing I'm really noticing is that having an outline actually puts me into the mindset of oh, my words have to be second draft worthy, where I'm still learning these characters, I'm still learning the voice of this project, you know. My first draft writing is not like my second draft writing, because here we're still learning, you know what I mean? We're still in the discovery portion of what types of words does this character like to use, how would this person interact in this circumstance, and the thing that got me, okay, the reason for my entire freak out motivation thing is I wanted the main character to walk more heavily to warn someone that she was coming that way, and I was okay, this is just a simple way to write it, and I wrote it down. I was I don't like this, I want this to be better. But the problem is I don't know the main character well enough to know the way that she would see that, right? So it's I can't add more personality into that portion right now because I don't know the main character well enough. Whereas in a second read through or an edit, I would know that better. I would have a better idea of oh, she would feel this way about walking heavily because of these experiences that she has, or these interactions she'll have later on with other characters that will show up that I don't know about yet. You know, that tends to be what happens, and that's how a lot of my foreshadowing comes. Either I'll put clues in of oh, this is a thread, maybe I can pick it up later, and a lot of those threads get snipped. But some stick around. It happens where something happens later and I'm oh, this is a really good point at the line level to kind of tease that a bit and to just add more personality to the voice of it, right? But that's not something I'm gonna know now until the future. So that's where we're at. I enjoy having this outline, and I'm realizing that I've been using it sort of as a map. And some people are good with maps, some people are good at knowing where they are. I am not one of those people. I'm not one of those people at all. I get lost extremely easily, so I'm always checking the map. I'm always referencing it in my mind. Now that I have a map, I can't actually use it as a map. I need to use it as general guidelines. It needs to be nothing strict. It needs to be very chill and very floaty, you know, I need to be drifting on the winds instead of following a strict section. So I need to do a brain change. Not a brain change, but a mindset change for that. And that's just how it's gonna work. When it comes to outlining, it helps me to do it very specifically. But when it comes to writing off of that outline, I need to do it very generally. Let's just write more, and then the more I write and the more I try new things, the more I'll learn and I'll grow, and that's wonderful. I'll never finish learning, right? I'll never finish growing, because my situation will change, my life will change, things around me will change, so I'll always have things to look forward to and change to really delve into, so that's exciting. I think it'll be a good thing for me. I also did this very silly thing. I was at the vet, and so I was just chilling, I was waiting, and I was feeling anxious, so I went ahead and I just wrote a silly little comedy test thing. I'm not great at comedy, but I think it's really fun to try things I'm bad at and see if I can get better. I really want to try to write more absurdist comedy. So I wrote a scene for that, and it makes no sense, but it was fun. That's all that really matters. But yeah, that's about where I'm at right now. I'm just having fun going through with this, and I got a little stuck, but I'm ready. I'm ready to keep going. I'm ready. But anyways, I'm going to head off now and do writing and other things that need to get done, unfortunately. But anyways, I will see you later. Hello, I've returned. I always say that. Oh my gosh. Anyways, I feel like I'm being a bit quiet, so apologies about that. I'll probably get louder as we go along. One thing I was curious about is I was wondering if anyone, like, if you outline for example, you know, how do you interact with that outline? Do you follow it immediately step by step? Like, do you go and kind of like casually follow it? Do you like write it and ignore it? Like, what's the process? This is really fun though. I feel like I'm at a point in the story and the writing where I really can figure out what the banter will be between the two main characters and like what they're like and how they would interact with each other. And I'm learning all these really interesting things about them, which is so fun. One of the characters is she's like very tall, and so she takes up a lot of space, and so some people can find her very intimidating, and so the way she walks and the way she interacts with people is very purposefully like gentle. It's really fun to write that and to write someone who is so like aware of the physical space that she takes up and how that affects the people around her. And they're beginning to do their banter, but they're at like the early stages of the banter, so it's not like comfortable for them yet. I'm still like struggling a bit with the actual writing part, which is a little unfortunate, but I think it's about time for me to like type things up, and I think that will reinvigorate me and get me going again, and I think it'll be fun to really dive into things and see how it will work out. I'm excited for them to have silly times, but I think after hanging out with the main characters a bit longer, I think they need some time to grow this sense of comfort with each other first before anything else crazy happens. So I need to figure out a way to make sure that will happen. I might steal stuff from the outline, or I might just like write new stuff, so we'll see what happens. But wish me luck. Okay, and I'm excited because whenever I write things up, I get to change the color of my pen. And like, while this color is really lovely, I really want to do something different, so I don't know. Also, unrelated to any of this, but I'm feeling really tempted to like edit Project Star now, so I think I might be getting back to that pretty soon. Yeah. I'm excited though. I feel like I'm actually at a point in my mental health where I feel a lot more stable, and I've been strategizing secretly on what to do with it, so I'm really excited. But anyways, I'm gonna go back and type all this up, and then I will see you, you know, I'll see you in a little bit. Hello. So it's been a thing. It's been a thing. I've been writing a bit more. Anyways, hi. But it's interesting. I have lots of things to say, so it's hard for me to like organize my thoughts. But first off, I've been writing a bit more, and it's in the part where I'm learning how the characters banter. So it's a lot more like thinking than it is like writing. Though I think I finally figured out like how they would talk and how they would like talk to each other. And I've kind of figured out what I want their progression to be as like in their relationship itself, which is pretty fun. So in case you're curious, I have the two main characters. They both kind of have this external sort of like mask, or like this face, this outward facing face that they show to like the rest of the world for like different reasons. One of the characters, it's because she's trying to control whether or not people think of her as like weird or uncomfortable to be around, or like any of this stuff. So she kind of like holds back a lot on the things she wants to say and the things that she does feel, but she's not like great at it. And the other character is, a lot of people rely on her, and so she has to be in control of the way she interacts with people because she's like responsible for their well-being. This is part of their character arcs too, but yeah, they both have these kind of like outward facing faces in a sense that are very like intentional and very like intense. And so going through this, I have to figure out how they interact with that and how they interact with these faces and with the parts underneath those faces, right? And I've realized that the progression of their relationship is really going to be digging deeper underneath those like outward faces, things that they show to the world, and kind of like getting inside of that. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that all works out. But it took me a while to really think about like how they would interact, how their issues would interact with each other's issues. Typically when I write romance, I build the characters such that their personalities will hopefully work together and their issues will kind of like meld in a way that makes sense and is understandable. But I just like make that and then I hope that it works out, because after that point it really has to follow like what they need. And obviously you can change stuff whenever you want to, but it's a lot harder to change base personality stuff than it is to change like big picture plot stuff, at least for me. So we'll see how it turns out. But obviously there are some changes I could make in the future that are relatively straightforward. So, but I think I'm pretty pleased with how their like interactions are going so far, so that's good. Another thing I've realized since I've decided like not to really think about the outlining that I've done is it's actually been very helpful, because it feels like I've done a really long and exact like brainstorming session and I wrote it all down, and now I just have like a file with all my brainstorming stuff in it. That's always very helpful to get me a sense of like place and location and where things are going, and as long as I ignore the details, I think it's gonna be very helpful going forward, especially since their character arcs are a bit more like finicky, I think, than the other ones. They're not as directly tied to like the external plot points. The external plot point pushes their emotional like stuff more intensely, and there is some connection, but it's not as directly linked as it was with the Underground. With the Underground, the external plot point was directly linked to like the main character arc for one of the characters, and then like but I struggled with that character arc too. It's just that I dealt with it and dealt with a lot of the issues I had with it after the fact, so I imagine the same thing will happen with this and we'll end up adjusting for that too, you know? So yeah, that's how it's going. We're going through and we're just writing. I don't really feel like typing things up at all, so I might just go until the end of the month and just keep writing in my little notebook until the end of the month, and we'll just see how much I get. Hopefully a reasonable amount. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. I'm really excited about it. I really do enjoy these characters. Anyways, I'm gonna head off and I'll be back in a little bit. A couple days, probably. Anyways. Hello, I've returned. I have a bit of a mess today, and I think that's okay. But I wanted to come and chat a little bit. I don't know. Now that I figured out their banter, I'm kind of like in the groove of writing again. It feels very like natural to go and like write a little bit and then go back and do other stuff or write, you know, as much as I want, which is really nice. It feels really good to be in that state of like just being able to write all of this stuff and like not feel so stuck the way I used to be. So, you know, this whole progress of me sort of like flailing through like not knowing what to do and feeling really exhausted and overwhelmed, it's really nice to like see that actually kind of bear fruit, I guess, to like find the results and feel like I can actually make good progress, which is really nice. I don't have like a huge amount of stuff to update. I was thinking about dialogue a lot recently for a bunch of random reasons. I was thinking about like what I really like, my sort of method, I guess, for dialogue. I'm like, what does this person mean versus what is understood from what they're saying, and how does that create like dynamics between different characters. These two characters are actually like, they don't always understand exactly what the other character means. They don't think negatively of the other person, so they end up like having positive like interactions in general. There are those like natural misunderstandings that just happen when you talk to people, you know, on like these really small scale levels where it's like you're navigating that, right? And you're navigating the conversation. And that's probably like I view conversations in these ways as sort of like this chess game that you have to learn how to play. I think it is really fun as a way to like consider conversations in stories, because there are all these layers to the way that we interact with people in general. I feel like my brain is not capable of like focusing super intensely right now, so I want to just write like a whole bunch of different things. I want to write all my other ideas, and it's like, when it comes to like writing quickly versus slowly or anything, the only appeal for me into writing quickly is being able to write more stories and to like actually get all of my ideas out on paper. Like that would be so fun, but also unrealistic, because the more I write, the more ideas I have, and so they're just like a constantly evolving sort of like pebbles, you know? It's like when you go into a lake and you find one cool rock, but then you're deep enough in the lake that you find another cool rock, and then you go to get the other cool rock, but then there's another cool rock over there, and it's just like the cool rock, they just multiply. You just end up with so many different cool rocks. The cool rocks being ideas. And I have so many ideas I want to write, but I have to make a decision. I have to make a choice because otherwise I won't write any of them. But anyways, I'm going to head off. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day and that you're having a good chill time and that, you know, you're doing well. I hope everything's going well for you. And yeah, I will see you next time, perhaps. Okay, bye.